And so this past was, I think we're recording on Thursday here. I think it's been 12 days or so since this. I mean, it's hard to even describe what this was, right? I mean, this is sort of like your old time pogrom, right? It's like the worst attack on Jewish people since
the Holocaust. Yeah.
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 And so
it's
what
brutal.
It absolutely is. And we've, I'm sure everyone who's listening has seen pictures and videos coming out of this attack, which focused on slaughtering civilians, women and children, and people who were unarmed, all sorts of horrible, horrible things. And then, in addition to that, we've seen throughout the world, but also here in the United States, a number of protests supporting Hamas and these actions, not just sort of tacitly, but openly. They're directly saying that this was a good thing to have happened. So, we've got a story coming out on this, the reaction to this inside the American Jewish community. But you're in the community, you're seeing it firsthand. What have you seen over these last almost 2 weeks?
So it's interesting. It went from absolute heartbreak, people mourning the loss of civilian life in Israel. It was a Jewish holiday when it happened. And specifically, it wasn't just like a regular Sabbath. I mean, it was a holiday, so everyone gets together with family and friends more than just your normal Sabbath. So it went from heartbreak and mourning to an uptick that I've never seen in the years that I've been doing this, with Jews from all walks of life being interested in firearms, and not just an introduction to them, but, hey, we think it's time to buy one. We think it's time to train. We're talking about 1,000% increase in what I normally see from anytime there's a terrorist attack. And I think it really comes down to not necessarily what happened in Israel, but the aftermath of all of the pro-Hamas rallies that we've been seeing across the country. I mean, this is our own home soil here in America, and you see, throughout the different cities, hundreds of thousands of individuals cheering on what Hamas did. And that, I think, is scaring the living hell out of people.
Yeah, because, these rallies, obviously there's a lot of controversy around Israel and Palestine and has been for a long time. But, it's not just that people are there saying free Palestine or some of the more moderate positions, or they're really celebrating these attacks in a lot of cases. They're using the paraglider iconography in some of these protests. They're saying, from the river to the sea, which is essentially a call to completely destroy Israel. These aren't subtle things at it. Not that everybody has done that at every one of these protests, but it's been a very common feature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they're really calling for the complete eradication. Not just of. I mean, keep in mind, not just of Israel, right? We're talking about Jews and Western culture. So, I don't think anyone is safe, Jew or non-Jew alike. And seeing, them taking over, was it the Capitol building yesterday? There was a huge rally there to, the streets of Dallas, the streets of, every state, just having these massive protests calling for the death of Israel, the death of Jews, the death of, Western culture. It should be a massive wake-up call for everybody.
And is, obviously the attack in Israel is where people were actually killed by, I think, just the numbers up to 1,400 now. Obviously there's Israel's the Jewish homeland, right? There's a special connection between a lot of Jewish people. From my understanding, I'm not Jewish, of course, but my understanding is that there's a special connection. It's meant to be this safe place for Jewish people, especially in the wake of the Holocaust. And so, that attack, from my understanding, from talking to a number of Jewish Americans, had a particular psychological effect in that sense that, there was always sort of conflict there, of course, and rockets get fired into Israel a lot, and it's not completely safe, but nothing like this has ever happened before.
Right. I mean, we've had,
been like?
We've definitely had the Yom Kippur War and the 6-Day War in 1967, but nothing. Those were all. And here's the thing, right? And I think most Jews will agree with this: is if it was a attack on military installations, although we would be cheering for Israel to win, it's somewhat understandable. It's a military installation. It's a military operation. This was not that. This was straight up murder on civilians. I mean, this was a 100% terrorist attack, beheading babies, raping women, kidnapping, and then straight out murder. So, it's we haven't seen anything like this since the Holocaust. So, it's definitely different than 67 and 73 because those were wars on military installations. It wasn't just indiscriminately killing civilians. So there is a difference, but look, I have a cousin on the front lines right now. I've been helping my brother-in-law who lives there get equipment for his community, vests and helmets and stuff like that, so they can do guard duty. I mean, it's something I've never seen before, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah. At the same time, of course, this is something that happened an ocean away from America.
Right.
We don't have something like Hamas on our border in the same sense that Israel does. And so, what is it that you think has driven American Jews? Is it just the shocking nature of the attack, or is it something more that's driving people here to want to become armed?
I think it's more, like I said, seeing those protests and rallies across the country that are in favor of what Hamas did. I mean, when you have a group of 15 to 25,000 people marching the streets, cheering that Hamas decapitated a bunch of babies, I mean, if you don't think that they would do it to people here, you're crazy. So I think there's a lot of people from Jews from every city, every state that are terrified that it could happen here.